Have you ever wondered if God requires you to stay in a marriage even if you are not in love with your spouse the way you believe you should be? As we embark on this journey today, let me share with you a bit of my personal story. I met my husband when we were both very young. The day we said our vows, I must confess, I didn't fully grasp the gravity of the words we were exchanging. I remember standing there thinking about how this was all for a tax break of all things. Our marriage was a roller coaster. We faced numerous valleys and the peaks were few and far between. In all honesty, we didn't marry for the right reasons. Love wasn't the driving force. But life has a funny way of progressing, doesn't it? Then came our children and everything became a blur of feeding, changing, and simply surviving. Our relationship, once a focal point, became an afterthought. As our children grew older, the cracks in our marriage became more apparent. Wounds that had been long overlooked were now glaringly obvious. The thought of divorce started to creep into my mind more frequently. It was during this tumultuous period that I found a church, thanks to my cousin's suggestion. A shift started to occur in our marriage when my husband began attending with me. However, when we stopped going, our marriage once again spiraled into turmoil. This is where our journey today begins. We've all heard the saying, marriage is not a bed of roses. It's true. It's a divine design that requires work, patience, and an immense amount of love. But what does it mean when the love you thought you should have isn't there? And how does God view our vows? Are they binding even if we were young and naive when we made them? These are the questions we will explore as we delve into the scriptures. But then something changed. We found a church and our marriage was transformed. Now let's delve into what the scriptures say about marriage. So, does it really matter if you're young and don't take the words of your vows seriously? Or are those words just as binding? This question brings us to the crux of our conversation today, the power of vows. Vows are not just a collection of sweet nothings whispered at the altar. They are solemn promises made before God and witnesses, reflecting a deep commitment to love, honor, and cherish another human being, come what may. They are a testament to the strength of our commitment, a beacon to guide us through the stormy seas of life's challenges. Now let's dive into the scriptures to understand more about the gravity of these vows. In the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 5, verse 5, it says, "Better not to vow than to vow and not pay." This scripture underscores the seriousness of making vows. When we make a vow, especially in a marriage context, we are expected to fulfill it. It's not a matter of convenience or whim. It's a matter of integrity and faith. In the book of Numbers, chapter 30, verses 1 and 2, we read, "Moses spoke to the heads of the tribes concerning the children of Israel, saying, 'This is the thing which the Lord has commanded. If a man vows a vow to the Lord, or swears an oath to bind himself by some agreement, he shall not break his word. He shall do according to all that proceeds out of his mouth.'" Here we see that vows are seen as binding agreements, not to be taken lightly. Switching gears to the New Testament in Matthew chapter 19 verse 6 we find, "So they are no longer two, but one flesh. Therefore what God has joined together, let no one separate." This verse reiterates the sanctity of marriage and how seriously the vows taken should be regarded. The words we speak during our vows are not just for the moment, they are a lifelong commitment. So when you say "I do," remember, it's not just for the wedding day, it's for every day thereafter. Let's now turn our attention to what the Bible tells us about the sanctity of marriage. From the Genesis to Revelation, the Bible is filled with verses that highlight the sacred nature of marriage. Genesis 2 verse 24, for instance, lays the foundational principle for marriage. "Therefore a man shall leave his father and his mother and hold fast to his wife, and they shall become one flesh." This scripture not only emphasizes the bond that marriage creates, but it also underscores the seriousness of the commitment involved. Another scripture that speaks to the sanctity of marriage is Hebrews 13 verse 4. "Let marriage be held in honor among all, and let the marriage bed be undefiled, for God will judge the sexually immoral and adulterous." This verse is a stark reminder that marriage is sacred, and that we should treat it as such. In Ephesians 5 verses 22 to 33, we find a profound exposition on the relationship between husbands and wives. The Apostle Paul uses the metaphor of Christ in the church to illustrate the deep sacrificial love that should exist in a marriage. It's a love that goes beyond feelings and is rooted in a commitment to serve and honor each other. In the Gospel of Mark chapter 10 verses 8 and 9, Jesus himself speaks about marriage. He says, "And the two shall become one flesh." So they are no longer two but one flesh. What therefore God has joined together, let not man separate. Here, Jesus reiterates the divine nature of marriage and the seriousness of the commitment it entails. Finally, in 1 Corinthians chapter 7, verses 10 and 11, we see the Apostle Paul admonishing spouses not to separate from each other. This underscores the belief that marriage is a lifelong commitment, not to be taken lightly or dissolved at the first sign of trouble. These scriptures underscore the divine nature of marriage and the seriousness of the vows we make. Marriage is not always a bed of roses. It comes with its own set of challenges. The journey of matrimony is akin to sailing a ship on an unpredictable sea that alternates between being calm and stormy. My own experience was no exception. In the early days of our marriage, we were two young souls, naive and unprepared. We pledged our vows without truly comprehending the magnitude of the commitment we were making. We were swept away by the romance, the tax benefits, and the societal expectations. But as the days turned into months and years, the cracks began to show. Children came into our lives, bringing with them joy and responsibilities. Time, once abundant, now seemed scarce. Our relationship, once the center of our universe, was pushed to the sidelines, relegated to the realm of the afterthought. The challenges were mounting and our ship was sailing into stormy waters. As our children grew older, the cracks in our relationship widened into chasms. Divorce, a word we had never uttered, started to echo in our minds. The love that once bound us seemed to be slipping away, and the challenges of our marriage felt insurmountable. But then, something changed. We found solace and guidance in a place we had never thought to look before: the church. Through the scriptures, we found a compass to navigate the tumultuous sea. The divine words breathed life into our strained relationship, providing us with a fresh perspective to understand and appreciate our vows, our commitment, and each other. Through the scriptures, we learned that marriage was not just a contract or a societal expectation. It was a sacred bond, a promise made before God. It was a journey that required patience, understanding, and unconditional love. The challenges were not there to break us, but to strengthen us. Despite the challenges, the sanctity of our vows and our commitment to each other helped us weather the storm. Our ship, once lost, found its bearings. It's still sailing and the sea is still unpredictable. But now we know how to navigate. We know how to turn challenges into opportunities for growth and love, and that has made all the difference. Faith can play a crucial role in supporting a marriage. In my own life, faith has been a beacon of hope and a source of strength during the stormiest seasons of my relationship. It was during a time when divorce seemed inevitable, when the wounds and cracks in my marriage were too glaring to ignore, that I found solace in faith. My journey to the church, thanks to my cousin, was a turning point. It was there that my husband and I began to view our marriage through a different lens, the lens of faith. Faith, in essence, is trust. Trust in a higher power, in the divine design of our lives and in each other. It is believing in the unseen, in the potential of love to heal, grow, and transform. Faith is not a magic wand that instantly mends broken bonds. Rather, it is a compass that guides us towards love, understanding, and resilience. The scriptures offer profound insights into the role of faith in marriage. One such scripture is Hebrews 11:1, which states, "Now faith is the assurance of things hoped for, the conviction of things not seen." This verse beautifully encapsulates the essence of faith in a marriage. It is the assurance that despite the challenges, there is hope for love and unity. It is the conviction that even when the road is rocky, love can prevail. Another scripture is 1 Peter 4:8. "Above all, love each other deeply, because love covers over a multitude of sins." This scripture reminds us that love, fueled by faith, can forgive, heal, and transcend any barrier or hardship. It urges us to love deeply and unconditionally, just as we are loved by our Creator. Faith can be a powerful anchor in a marriage, guiding us through the ups and downs. It is a reminder that even in the midst of trials, love and unity can flourish. It is a testament to the divine design of marriage, a design that is rooted in love, patience, and enduring faith. We are not alone in our marital journey. We can learn so much from each other's experiences. As we navigate the ebb and flow of married life, it's crucial to remember that our stories are not told in isolation. Our paths intersect, our experiences overlap, and our insights can enlighten the paths of others. Consider the power of the shared narrative. We all have moments of triumph, times of struggle, instances of doubt, and periods of joy. We've all felt the exhilaration of love's first bloom, the comfort of a partner's understanding, the sting of a quarrel, and the healing balm of reconciliation. These shared experiences create a rich tapestry of collective wisdom, a resource from which we can all draw strength. Building a marriage community is about fostering a space where these narratives can be shared and celebrated. It's about creating an environment where we can learn from each other, where we can offer support in times of crisis, and where we can celebrate each other's victories. It's about understanding that we are all on this journey together, and that our individual stories are threads in a larger narrative of love, commitment, and growth. This community is not just about sharing stories, though. It's also about sharing tools, strategies, and insights that can help us navigate the complexities of marriage. It's about learning from each other's successes and failures, about finding new ways to communicate, to connect, and to grow together. It's about building a toolbox of ideas that can help us build stronger, happier, and more fulfilling marriages. So let's start this conversation. Let's share our stories, our insights, our struggles, and our triumphs. Let's learn from each other, support each other, and celebrate each other. Let's build a community that values the sanctity of marriage, that cherishes the journey, and that believes in the power of shared narrative. Your stories matter. They can inspire and guide others in their own journeys. As we wrap up, let's remind ourselves of the sanctity of marriage and the power of our vows. So, we've journeyed through the divine design of marriage, reminding ourselves of the sacred institution it is, where two souls commit to honor, cherish, and support each other. We've delved into the power of vows, those heartfelt promises we make at the altar. They are not merely ornamental words, but a solemn pledge that binds us in sickness and health, in joy and sorrow. We've also grappled with the challenges that marriage brings, the peaks and valleys that form the contours of our shared lives. Marriage is not a smooth, straight road. Instead, it's a winding path filled with unexpected turns. But it's these very challenges that make our bond stronger and our love deeper. We've seen how faith can play a pivotal role in our marital lives. It can be the anchor that holds us steady in the stormy seas, or the compass that guides us when we lose our way. It's faith that can help us rekindle the love when the flames seem to have died down. And finally, we've talked about the importance of community in our marital journeys. A community that supports and uplifts, that listens and advises, that shares and cares. A community that celebrates marriage and helps us navigate its complexities. So, as we part ways today, I encourage you all to keep exploring the scriptures for guidance, to keep seeking wisdom in their words. Remember, every marriage is unique, every journey different, and yet, there is so much we can learn from each other's experiences, so much we can share. Remember, your marriage journey is unique and sacred. Please subscribe, comment, and share your own stories. Let's build a community that celebrates and supports marriage.